Hello, everyone. Welcome to Market Talks, the weekly Argus podcast on the commodities and energy sectors. I am Camila Fontana, Deputy Bureau Chief of the Argus office in Brazil, and it's once again my pleasure to welcome João Scheller, who covers crude markets in Colombia, Ecuador, Argentina, and Guyana, which is the focus of our conversation today. So, João, Guyana quickly moved from zero output to becoming one of the fastest growing producers of crude in the world. How did that happen?
Well, first of all, thank you, Camila, for having me here once again. Guyana has a very interesting story. We had a giant discovery of crude oil in 2015 in Guyana, led by a consortium, which is basically consisted by ExxonMobil, Hess, which is an American independent company, and China's state-owned CNOOC. In 2015, as I said, there was a giant discovery of a block, which is called Stabroek block, which is about 120 miles off the coast of Guyana. That's about 200 kilometers distance from there. So it's very similar to what we have, for example, in Brazil, with the crude production being concentrated offshore. And the discovery was made in 2015, and the country started to produce crude oil and started to export its crude oil in 2019. So that was very, very quick, a very interesting and probably definitely unusual fast development of the crude oil market in Guyana. So we have these three companies, as I mentioned, Exxon, Hess, and CNOOC, but we also have a part of the crude oil produced in Guyana being marketed on behalf of the Guyanese government. So we have what we call equity barrels as well. So we have basically that set in Guyana. That's how they've started to produce crude oil in there.
And what are the main characteristics of the crude produced in Guyana, and how do these characteristics affect its market value?
Right. The crude oil produced in Guyana is what we call a medium sweet crude oil. So that means that it's low in sulfur content, but it has an API between 30 to 35. In Guyana specifically, it's between 29 to 34. So that's what we call a medium sweet crude oil, which means that it is relatively easy to refine. I'm not going to get into the details of the refining process, but it's relatively easy to refine. We have three different types of crudes in Guyana. One is Lysa, then we have Unity Gold, and Payara Gold. We have, by the way, Argus assess daily each of those crudes since early 2024. And the main markets we have for those crudes are Europe first. About 50% of the exports of Guyanese crudes head to Europe. And then we have another 30% around that head to the U.S., mostly to the West Coast, but more recently we've seen more and more Guyanese crude cargoes heading to the Gulf Coast as well. Of course, those numbers vary, and they vary month to month. That's just an estimate, but we have definitely Europe as the Guyanese main market, and that's mostly because of the compatibility with European refineries. Basically, we can say that Guyanese crude is well valued in international markets. And it competes directly with other crudes with similar quality. We can mention West African crudes in general, have a few different crude grades that compete with Guyanese crudes, Libyan crudes, and also Brazilian crude grades such as Mero and Búzios. Also, Argus also assesses Búzios on a delivery basis to Europe, and also a wide range of West African and Libyan grades. So there's an easy way to compare and to see the perspective of the competition in the European market for those grades.
And João, going forward, what is the outlook for Guyana's crude production over the next few years?
Well, the output is projected to reach up to 1.3 million barrels a day by 2030. That's a lot of crude. Of course, that depends on a lot of factors and on a lot of projects being finished and being developed. As of now, Guyana has a crude production in 2024 of about 650,000 barrels a day. And by the end of this year, we expect Guyana to reach a crude production of about 674,000 barrels a day. So we do have a little increase in crude production. In 2026, this number could grow even further because later in this year, we're going to start to have a new project. So a new crude being produced in Guyana is going to be the fourth crude grade produced in Guyana. It is called the Golden Arrowhead, and it will come out from the Yellowtail project, which is set to begin production in August this year. As we were recording this podcast, that's within a month from now, right? But they already started to organize the exports of this crude grade specifically. And what is interesting about this new Golden Arrowhead crude is that it will be the first light sweet Guyanese crude grade. It has an API gravity of about 36 and sulfur content of 0.25%. Of course, as the project develops, we're going to see more information about this crude being published, but as of now, it's going to be the first light sweet crude grade from Guyana. And this project specifically, so this FPSO that will produce this new crude is set to reach an output of 250,000 barrels a day by early next year. So perhaps, and there's a very high chance that we're going to see an impact of this new project in Guyanese crude production next year.
Fast growth indeed. So thank you again, João, for being here with us. Thank you to our listeners. Stay tuned for more Argus content on the commodity and energy sectors in Latin America and elsewhere. All episodes are on major streaming platforms. Hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.